Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Cleveland Sports Show. It's a full action-packed house today as Andrew is back with us this afternoon. And our sports fact of today, March 29th, our sports fact is that the North Carolina Tar Heels outlast the Georgetown Hoyas by a final score of 63-62 in the NCAA Men's Championship game in the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans. And with 15 seconds remaining, freshman Michael Jordan puts the Tar Heels ahead by 1 point with an 18-foot jumper. With 7 seconds left, Georgetown sophomore guard Freddie Brown brings the ball up the court and mistakenly throws the ball to North Carolina's James Worthy, who winds up with 28 points on 13 of 17 shooting. Hoya's freshman center Patrick Ewing finishes with 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 goaltending calls. So that is really an interesting fact. We have 3 of the 4 players mentioned in this little fact for today. 3 of those 4 players have now been considered NBA all-time legends. We have really one player who's considered to be the greatest of all time in Michael Jordan. And then, of course, Laker legend James Worthy, along with another New York Knicks legend, Patrick Ewing. So 3 of those 4 players who have, phenomenal careers and really established themselves in the NBA early. Really a terrific fact for this week. And speaking of NCAA basketball, Andrew and I are going to talk about that in a few minutes here. But first, let's get to soccer and the MLS. And the standings right now, DC United in first place with 7 points. In 3 matches played, they have 2 wins, 1 draw, and no losses so far. And the newly acquired MLS team, FC Cincinnati, from Ohio, of course, in 4 games, they have won 2 of those games and have had a draw and a loss in the other 2. And then the very own Columbus Crew, the other Ohio team, sitting in 3rd place with the same point differential as Cincinnati do. In 4 matches played, they have 2 wins, 1 draw, as well as a loss. Toronto FC, Montreal Impact, Orlando City, and the New York Red Bulls finish out that remaining playoff picture for the MLS in the Eastern Conference. Now, in the Western Conference, LAFC are the first team to get into double-digit points earned this season, as in 4 matches played, they have 3 wins, 1 draw, and no losses so far. And the top 3 teams, interestingly, in the MLS Western Conference, none of them have suffered a loss yet. Speaking of those top 3 teams, and number 2, the Seattle Sounders, 3 matches played, perfect record so far, 3 wins, 0 draws, and 0 losses for a combined 9 points. And then the Houston Dynamo, to finish out that top 3 seeding in the Western Conference, have 2 wins, a draw, as well as a loss for a combined 7 points. And more specifically, for all of you Columbus Crew fans out there, Columbus will be playing Atlanta United tomorrow at MAPFRE Stadium. Atlanta United, the defending champions of the MLS, will be coming to Columbus for a date with the Crew. And then the Crew will also host the New England Revolution next Saturday, April 6th. And then a week later after that, the Montreal Impact will host the Columbus Crew out all the way in Montreal, Canada. And that concludes our MLS segment of today's show. What I want to get to now is, Andrew, we've been talking about this a lot. We've been hearing about it a lot in school. And the March Madness NAAC basketball, the Sweet 16 is well underway, as the first in our first 4 games, we had Gonzaga beating Florida State 72-58, Purdue with a 5-point win over Tennessee 99-94, and then Texas Tech defeated Michigan by 19 points by a final score of 63-44. Oregon lost to Virginia by a final score of 4. 53-49 was the final score of that game. And for tonight's schedule, LSU and Michigan State will be facing off today at 7:09. Auburn and UNC will be battling it out today at 7:29. Virginia Tech and number 1 seeded Duke with Zion Williamson will face off at 9:39, and then Houston and Kentucky. Houston actually defeated Ohio State by a final score of 74-59 this past Sunday, and now they will look to defeat the University of Kentucky at 10 o'clock this evening. And tomorrow, if that does not satisfy your college basketball needs, well, tomorrow the Elite Eight begins of the NAAC tournament. Texas Tech will be facing off against Gonzaga, and then Purdue will be taking on Virginia. Andrew, I just want to get your thoughts on this. What are some of the key matchups, and what are some of your predictions as well for the upcoming schedule in March Madness?
You know what? I have Duke going all the way, man. You know, Virginia Tech is going to give Duke a little fight, but Duke will pull through. Then we have LSU versus Michigan State. I got Michigan State for that one. And then the one game I really want to see is Purdue versus Virginia. The way Virginia's been playing, and Purdue has been surprising to me. I can't wait to watch that game tomorrow. How about you, Darayus? What are your predictions?
Well, I'm also, I'm very interested to see what Duke has to offer, especially their 1-point win over USCF, 77-76. RJ Barrett, with that game-winning layup, and then, Zion Williamson really carried the team in that game. I'm going to be really interested to see how Duke is going to bounce back after a lot of people are now, the suspicions have increased, Andrew, and if Duke is wanting to go all the way, they're really going to have to prove it tonight, especially against a 4-seed Virginia Tech. However, I definitely do think it's a very winnable game for Duke, as of course, when you have Zion Williamson on your team, and just the freak of nature that he is, that gives you an advantage almost every night. And that concludes our college basketball, but we're going to stay put on the topic of basketball still, and we're going to be talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, who unfortunately lost last night by a final score of 116-110 to the San Antonio Spurs. The Cavs were outscored by 12 in the third quarter, 28-40. I tell you, Andrew, these third quarters have been killing the Cavs in these last few games. And this past Tuesday in Cleveland, the Boston Celtics came to town, and the Cavs were able to keep that competitive. However, the Boston Celtics were able to pull away, as Jason Tatum had 21 points, Al Horford with 19, Marcus Smart with a surprising 21, Terry Rozier with 11, Gordon Hayward with 15. This was one of those games where if you're a Celtics fan and you're thinking to yourself, is this team better with or without Kyrie? For those who say that this team is better without Kyrie, this Celtics versus Cavs game was really one big piece of evidence that could lead to someone saying that kind of statement. And then this past Sunday, the Cavs lost to the best team in the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks, by a final score of 105-127. The Cavs actually had a decent third quarter. 22-22 was the score in that third quarter. However, the Bucks outscored the Cavs by 8 in the second quarter and then by 9 in the fourth quarter to really gain momentum. Larry Nance Jr. with 13 points on the day, Kevin Love with 20, and then Colin Sexton had 18 on that Sunday afternoon in Milwaukee. And in terms of standings, the Cavs, of course, are well out of the playoffs. They've already been mathematically eliminated. We knew that probably in, November?
Yeah.
So their Cavs overall record now is 19-57. They're 6-31 on the road and 13-26 at home. Their upcoming schedule includes a continuation of this West Coast road trip, as tomorrow matinees start for in Los Angeles, as at 3:30 Eastern Time, the Cavs will be in La La Land to take on not the Lakers, but the Clippers. Good news about this game is that the Cavs have already bagged out a win in LA against the LeBron-less Lakers. However, this Clippers team is obviously much better than the Lakers, especially with the likes of Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. They really don't have a superstar. They're almost like the Brooklyn Nets of the West, Andrew, as, they don't have a superstar. They have a lot of room for a superstar. And a lot of people have been saying, Kawhi Leonard, who wants to play in Los Angeles, may favor the Clippers instead of the Lakers. So, of course, the Cavs will play the Clippers in Los Angeles tomorrow at 3:30. Then they head to the desert in Phoenix to take on the appalling Suns. So, two of the worst teams in the NBA will be facing off this upcoming Monday. And then they'll head back to California for a matchup with De'Aaron Fox and the Kings before heading to the Bay Area for their final road game of the year against you-know-who, the Golden State Warriors. Then they come home for a 2-game homestand, which will, of course, conclude their season. So, Andrew, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Colin Sexton, I don't know if you heard this, but I said in the last show that Colin Sexton is better than Lonzo Ball. Just the month that Colin Sexton's having, and just his overall progression as a player has been elevated far more than that I've analyzed of Lonzo Ball. What's your overall analysis of what's this past week for the Cavs, and what do they have to look forward to in this upcoming offseason?
You know what? I totally agree with you. Colin Sexton he's way better than Lonzo Ball, like a lot better. But during the offseason, we really should get Colin Sexton someone maybe another veteran he can look up to. But we should keep players like Kevin Love, and we should keep Brandon Knight too to really show him how to be a guard in the NBA.
Another thing that definitely a task at hand for the Cavs is, either dealing J.R. Smith or finding a way to have J.R. Smith back on this team, because J.R. Smith is basically being paid not to play basketball this season. Mm-hmm. So if I'm the Cavs, I'm going to J.R. and I'm saying, hey, look, either we're paying you and you're playing for this team, or we're dealing you somewhere else, because right now this is inexcusable. JR needs to be on that court. I don't really know the mental issues or anything else that's going on right now, but he's been out pretty much the entire season, just as Kevin Love has been, and I definitely think that has to be one of the top lists on the itinerary for the Cavs this summer. And now we're going to move on, Andrew, away from the Cavs and now to just overall NBA playoff talk. Andrew, we have to really start getting our brackets ready for the NBA playoffs and getting our standing lists ready. And if the playoffs started today, here'd be the Eastern Conference matchups. You have the number 1 Bucks against the number 8 Heat, 2 seed Raptors, 7 seed Nets, 3 seed Sixers going against the 6 seed Pistons, and then the 4 seeded Pacers are going up against the 5th seeded Celtics. So before we move on to the Western Conference, Andrew, what matchup of that that I just listed would you, if the playoffs started today, would you be really interested in seeing?
The Bucks and the Heat. I really like how the Heat have been playing lately with Josh Richardson. I really like him as a player. But I kind of wish that the Heat, I could see them against the Nets, because I want to see them go even further in the playoffs. But yeah, I can't wait to watch the Bucks and the Heat.
Andrew, one matchup that I'm really looking forward to is that 4-5 matchup. That's always a great matchup. And you have the Pacers and the Celtics. But the big news is that the Celtics don't have home court. So the first 2 games would actually be in Indianapolis, and the Pacers would have home court advantage. No doubt about it, though, I would definitely pick the Celtics to win that series in 6 games. If the Celtics had home court advantage, then I would pick them to win the series in 5 games. But just due to their appalling season, they're honestly lucky to be in the playoffs right now. If they were in the Western Conference, Andrew, they would be out of the playoffs.
Yeah, they would.
And, especially given the fact that the Pacers don't have Oladipo for the rest of the season, it's going to be extremely hard for them to come by wins, especially in postseason time when everything is on the line. Therefore, even though they don't have home court advantage, I would pick the Boston Celtics to defeat the Indiana Pacers if these standings, based on these standings, if the playoffs began today. And interestingly enough, the Indiana Pacers actually play against the Boston Celtics today at TD Garden. Oh. So, the 4 or 5 seed are still really up for grabs. And like I said, these playoff standings are by no means officially done or anything. Now, moving on to the Western Conference, of course, the Golden State Warriors still have the number 1 seed, and if the playoffs began today, they'd be taking on the Spurs for the 3rd year in a row in the playoffs. The past 2 years, the Warriors, of course, swept the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals after Kawhi Leonard's unfortunate injury, and then they defeated the Spurs in 5 games last year in the first round, again without Kawhi Leonard. The Nuggets, the 2-seed Nuggets, would be taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I'm really surprised are in the 7th seed. And, they've been struggling a little bit, but that just shows you in the Western Conference you cannot struggle, Andrew, at all. You have to be on your A game. And with this little losing streak that the Thunder have come upon, they find themselves in 7th place. Moving on, the Trailblazers, who are the 3rd seed, would take on the Los Angeles Clippers, and then the Rockets and the Jazz would face off in the first round. Last year, the Rockets beat the Jazz in 5 games in the conference semifinal. So, Andrew, I'll start with you. What series, if the playoffs began today, in the Western Conference would you be interested in seeing?
You know what? I don't care who they play, but I'm going to watch the Clippers. Charles Barkley, he predicted they'd get 33 wins. ESPN, they predicted they would get 33 wins, and now they're going to be in the playoffs. And they have 45 wins right now. So I don't care who they're playing, they're the team I'm going to watch.
And, Andrew, I'm really surprised. I thought the Lakers were going to be the glamorous franchise of Los Angeles, but really, it's been the Clippers. The Clippers have been playing extremely well. One matchup that I'd honestly look forward to is the Nuggets and the Thunder. Yes, it is a 2-7 matchup, so it generally is heavily one-sided on the higher seed. But this is the Oklahoma City Thunder team with Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and of course an elite bench. This is one of the best benches that Russell Westbrook has been able to play with in his career. And then of course you have Paul George, who really was an MVP candidate on earlier in the season, but after his unfortunate injury, that's kind of died down a little bit. But still, the Nuggets really don't have a lot of playoff experience. The Nuggets are almost in the same situation as the Milwaukee Bucks are, in the fact that it's that experience factor that plays in. The Nuggets or the Bucks don't have a ton of playoff experience, which is why I'm extremely interested to see how that playoff experience and plus that talent of Oklahoma City can go up against the higher seeded and more confident Denver Nuggets.
All right, so to get into the Mavericks with Dirk, you know how Luka's been playing. He's most definitely going to be the Rookie of the Year. They traded for Kristaps Porzingis, but some reporters had a little talk with Dirk about Luka Doncic and Kristaps, and this is what Dirk said.
The 2011 finals were going on. His mom wouldn't let him get up that early in the morning because he was like 12. Does he ask questions about 2011, or no. Do you tell him anything about 2011? Is he becoming?
No, every time I mention the past, he's like, "You're so old. You're so old." he doesn't listen. He's a young man, but he's an old soul, I guess. I don't know. He doesn't want to hear some of my old stories.
Porzingis loves him though.
Porzingis, shows a little more respect towards me than Luka does.
I was like, I feel like there could be a problem in respect to other players in the future. How about you, Darayus?
No, Andrew, I really don't think this is a big concern. I mean, you could hear reporters laughing, you could hear Dirk laughing. Luka Doncic, as phenomenal as he's been, let's not forget he's a rookie. This is his first year in the NBA, and of course he's going to be a little bit full of himself. If I'm the Mavericks, I'm Dirk Nowitzki. If I'm the NBA, I'm really not taking this, blowing this out of proportions. This is really just one of those side conversations that just happen to have some laughs. And, there shouldn't be any feelings of, resentment or hate from an individual towards any other. This really isn't that much of a deal.
But I've heard a lot of talk of Kristaps being overrated and that he's really just a bust. I don't understand that the way he played in New York, but now he's working with Dirk in the gym, and Dirk he's won the finals. He's beaten Kobe, he beat LeBron, that super team. I think Kristaps is going to be really good once he's able to come back on the court.
And that's why playing with the Mavericks is going to be great for, a player like Kristaps. Playing with the Knicks, that's really not, all the drama that's going on over there. That's really not the best place for you to, be with a quality team and elevate your game. Here with the Mavericks, the Mavericks are an emerging team in the Western Conference. Are they going to make the playoffs? Probably not, given, they're 14th in the Western Conference. There's no way that they can make it now. They're 29-46, but Kristaps Porzingis being able to learn off of the qualities, the physical characteristics of someone like Dirk Nowitzki and how he became such one of the NBA greats is definitely going to help an emerging player like Kristaps, who's coming off a series of injuries in New York. Playing in Dallas will definitely help him become more of a consistent player. In New York, he put up, about 23 points in 32 minutes. He was their best player. And now with Dirk, he can definitely elevate not only his game, but also others around him.
And I have some information.
Terrific week. And go Cavs, as well as Indians. And we'll see you for another episode of the Cleveland Sports Show very soon. Take care.